Please tell me that you didn't click on this video after spending hundreds of dollars at an art supply store. If you did, grab your receipt and take everything back right now. Right now. Welcome back. My name is Christine, and I'm going to share everything that I like to keep in my small art supply stash for beginners. The best part is that you can get most of these items for under $30. It's very intimidating to walk into an art store and try to buy everything that you need to start your art journey. Sadly, I'm speaking from experience. I know that having a bunch of art supplies can hold a person back. I mean, what if you're afraid to use them? What if you're afraid to make a mistake? It can be really scary, and sometimes you need a little bit more than courage to get started. You need a solid foundation, a small art supply stash that has logic and reason behind every item that you bought. These are supplies that you can learn and grow with. You can break these supplies in without the fear of ruining anything or wasting any money. Let's talk about paper. Now, usually a lot of artists want to paint on a canvas, they want to paint on wood, something that seems very, artist-like. But if you're a beginner, you don't want to paint on any of those things. I want you to paint on paper. If you like, you can purchase this Canson mixed media watercolor sketchbook. I love painting with acrylic paints in a watercolor sketchbook because the paper is thicker. The sketchbook will turn a lot of people off because the paper warps. It's just what paper does, but it's easier and less intimidating as a beginner, which is why it's one of our foundational supplies for our small art supply stash. It's something that you can always have on hand and grab it in a pinch when you need something to paint on. If the sketchbook turns you off, if you don't like the binding or you're afraid of ruining it or filling it up, I'd highly recommend just buying a pad of watercolor paper. My favorite brand right now, which is really affordable, is Gen Crafts, which you can get on Amazon. I found that paper from Kristy Rice. She compared a ton of papers on Amazon and she came up with Gen Crafts as the most affordable paper. We love that paper. That paper is the bomb. It's the GOAT. It's my go-to. I think that the watercolor paper pad is a genius because you can just easily rip it out and tape it to the table to work on it. I'm guilty of being one of those artists that don't use their supplies. Taking something out of a sketchbook, ripping it out is one reason why I don't like to use sketchbooks, and I prefer the paper pad. Some of the most popular videos on my channel were painted with this paper. No, it's not aesthetic or Instagram worthy. This is what progress looks like. The best part is that you can easily put this paper in a folder and tuck it away without it taking up a lot of space. You also don't have to worry about selling any of your paintings to make room for more art. Painting on paper or a watercolor sketchbook just gives you more room to grow, which is why it's one of our foundational supplies to our art supply stash. The second supply on this list is painter's tape. This works better for me than washi tape. Some of my washi tape is just too cute to use. Sometimes it doesn't even stick well. It doesn't even, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand why we need certain things like tape to look cute. This is cheaper. You can get it in a 3-pack. It works better. I'm not afraid to use it. If you haven't seen a YouTube video about paint masking techniques using tape with acrylic paint, I'm about to rock your world. Some of the most popular techniques using this tape involve straight lines, geometric shapes, stenciling, layering, and negative space. And guess what? They're all beginner friendly. Don't worry, there's a video coming soon and I think you'll like it. X-Acto knives are handy for opening up paint bottles sealed with plastic, especially if you have short nails. I've also used an X-Acto knife to pick the dried paint off of my paint bottles. You'd be surprised how often paint bottles get dry shut. The most creative way to use an X-Acto knife is with the painter's tape we just talked about. You can use the X-Acto knife to carefully cut away the tape to create a custom mask. This is another reason why I recommend painting on paper or a sketchbook instead of a canvas. If you're experimenting with an X-Acto knife and trying to make a custom mask, it'll be a lot easier to make mistakes on paper than a canvas. If you haven't noticed, all of these foundational art supply stash items work well together. They also give you room to grow and experiment with what you have in your art supply stash. Okay, when it comes to choosing colors and paint brands, there's something you need to know. No one on the internet can give you the exact colors of paint and the exact brand of paint that you need to get started as an acrylic artist. And that's because the colors and the brand of paint that you need as a beginner depend on the subject matter that you want to paint. It also depends on the style that you want to paint. It depends on how you want to paint. And it depends on what you are comfortable painting with. Do you see where I'm going with this? Stay with me because those are a lot of things that you don't have the answers to right now. So as your friend, why would I give you a brand of paint and a list of colors to buy, knowing that those are the things that you have to discover for yourself? Which is why I would suggest going to Walmart or going to the budget section in your art supply store and picking up a small paint kit. One that I really like to use right now is Dollaroni from Walmart. I think this kit was about $12. It might have gone up a little bit since then, but it has everything that you need. And yes, this kit does have a lot of the colors that people usually suggest to buy when getting started. I don't want to sit here and tell you that you should find a kit that has cyan and magenta in it, or a kit that has yellow ochre. Personally, I believe that you should start with more than red, yellow, and blue. It's easier to get excited about experimenting with a pack of 12 paints versus a pack of 5. And that's kind of the point of this video. We're not just choosing foundational art supplies, we're choosing art supplies that we're actually excited about using. And honestly, I would pick this one every time. It's important to fill your art supply stash with items that you're excited about using, not with generic items that people are just telling you to buy. You have to be a little bit hands-on to figure out what you like and what you don't like before you can start expanding upon the brand of paints that you buy and the types of colors that you want to add to your palette. Using a cheap kit from Walmart like this will give you the perspective that you need so that you can discover where you want to go in your art journey and what types of paintings you want to create. Then it's just all about finding the right materials and tools to add to your artist essential stash so you can create those types of paintings every single time. For example, after playing around with the basic paints, maybe you learn that you want to create something with a little bit more texture to it. So you might go to the art store and tell them, I tried these basic paints and I want to create something with more texture. I need paint that has a thicker body to it, something that isn't watery. And they will be able to help you find something that'll fit your needs. But you wouldn't be able to tell them what you wanted to use had you not experimented with the cheap version of paint first. It's all about perspective, my friend. Without that perspective, without that knowledge, and just that time to figure things out, it's going to be difficult for you to pick up any art supplies that you can consider essentials or foundations. If you're finding any of the information in this video helpful, go ahead and give it a like so we can spread to more people and we can save a lot of money and a lot of hassle when it comes to buying art supplies. Building on to my last point, the next thing that you want in your art supply stash is a color wheel. And I'm not just talking about a color wheel that you found online or something that you purchased off of Amazon. I'm talking about making a color wheel with the art supply kit that you purchased. Making a color wheel is one of the best ways to start beginning to understand how the paint that you bought works. It'll also help you understand how to mix the colors that you purchased to create darker variations of those colors. I will include a link to the color wheel template you see here that you can print out and practice with. If the color wheel is just a little too intense for you, I made these really cute art swatches that you can purchase from my Etsy shop. But since I like you and you're watching this video, I'm going to give you 2 of these color swatches for free in the description box below. Brushes, brushes, brushes. You might think that you need to buy a paintbrush like this one, but you don't. You know how when you go to the art store and you go down the aisle with all the brushes, they're all just in their canisters and they look gorgeous. They're beautiful. If you look at the prices, some of them are like 25, 50, $120 for one single brush. I always wanted to buy one of these brushes, so I finally did. I bought a $25 brush. And it was the worst brush I had ever used in my entire life. I thought that it would elevate my art, but it made it worse. It shedded, it fell apart. I had to pick tons of bristles out of my paintings with tweezers. Don't spend a ton of money on a brush if you don't know what a good brush is. All you really need is just a good value pack of brushes so you can decide which ones you like the most. But I'm going to tell you right now, most people end up using the round brush, a good flathead, and a liner brush. Those are the foundational brushes that I use every time I paint, which is why I have multiples at various sizes. Don't worry about finding specific sizes for these brushes. You can always upgrade your small art supply stash later. I just want to get you started. We have to talk about paint palettes. Please don't buy one of these plastic palettes. They're hard to clean, and a dirty paint palette is a really good excuse to not paint. In fact, I bet you have plenty of items around your house that you can use instead. Here are a few items I bet you have laying around your house right now. Don't use anything that's made out of glass. Picture frames and glass plates break. There's nothing worse than picking up a broken plate with wet paint because you knocked it off your table. It happens. It's very common as a beginner to just feel out of place when you're painting, which is why I recommend surrounding yourself with things that you can't break. I'm obsessed with disposable palettes because you can easily store them in a binder or folder. They make it really easy to take notes while I'm painting. If I'm working on a series of paintings, I can quickly reference an old paint palette to make sure that all of my color mixtures are correct and consistent. This is the one that I like to use. It came with 40 sheets and I think it was only $5 at Walmart. It also has a gray background, which makes color mixing more accurate. It comes with a thumb hole so you can feel like you're holding an actual palette, so I like that too. Tweezers. Do you hear that? Tweezers are very inexpensive and you can pick up a pair at the drugstore for probably like $2. I use tweezers to pick up animal hair and dust particles for my paintings. I have cats, so cat hair is constantly getting in them. It's also not unusual to lose a paintbrush bristle while you work. Tweezers make it easy to pick these objects up. If you were to try to pick up a hair or a paint bristle with your fingers, you could smudge your painting or leave a fingerprint in it. Now that you have a really good foundation of what art supplies you should buy for your small art supply stash, go ahead and watch this video next. I created some really easy exercises that'll help you get started, and I'll see you there.